The ship came out of hyperspace with a gentle shake, pressed his face against the window like a child seeing snow for the first time. Before him, the home world floated in space like a giant purple jewel. 3 moons circled around it, each one glowing with soft light. "Stop acting like a tourist," Commander Park said from behind him. She was checking her weapons for the 5th time. "We are here for work, not vacation." Smiled but did not move from the window. "I am working. I am observing the planet. That is part of my job as a translator." Made a sound of annoyance but said nothing more. She knew was good at his job. That was why he was here. At 28 years old, he had already learned 14 alien languages. He was the best translator Earth had. The ship began its slow descent toward the planet. Watched the clouds part as they went down. The capital city appeared below them. It was beautiful and strange. The buildings were tall and twisted like frozen fire. Everything seemed to glow from inside. Flying vehicles moved between the towers like fish swimming through water. "Listen to me carefully," Ambassador said, gathering the human delegation together. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. "They are one of the oldest species in the galaxy. They have lived for thousands of years. They see other species as children at best. We must be respectful. We must be careful. One wrong word could destroy this alliance before it begins." Everyone nodded. They all knew what was at stake. Earth needed allies. The galaxy was a dangerous place, and humanity was still new to it. The ship landed on a platform made of white stone. When the doors opened, felt the alien air touch his face. It smelled like flowers and metal, strange but not unpleasant. A group of waited for them, had seen pictures of this species before, but seeing them in person was different. They were tall, almost 2 meters each. Their skin was silver and seemed to shine under the light, but most striking were their faces. Each had 4 eyes, arranged in 2 pairs. Their features were sharp and elegant, like sculptures made by artists who thought beauty was the only thing that mattered. The leader of the welcoming group stepped forward. He wore robes of deep blue and gold. "Welcome to," he said in the common galactic language. "The Empress awaits you in the throne room. Please follow me." They walked through hallways that seemed to go on forever. The walls were covered with art and writing that could not read. He made a mental note to learn the written language as soon as possible. Finally, they reached the throne room. Had thought the hallways were impressive. He was wrong. The throne room was something else entirely. The ceiling was so high that clouds actually floated near the top. Pillars of crystal stood in rows, each one taller than any building on Earth. And at the far end, on a throne made of light itself, sat Empress. She was ancient, could feel it just by looking at her. Her silver skin had patterns of gold running through it like veins of precious metal in rock. Her 4 eyes watched them approach with calm interest, like a scientist watching insects under glass. "Humans," she said. Her voice was soft but filled the entire room. "You have come far. I am curious about your species. You are young, you are weak, yet you have spread across the stars in such a short time. Tell me what drives you so." Ambassador stepped forward and bowed. "Your Imperial Majesty, we are driven by curiosity, by the desire to learn, by the hope of finding friends among the stars." The Empress smiled slightly. "Pretty words, we shall see if there is truth behind them." She gestured with one long-fingered hand. "Let me look upon you, all of you. Stand in line so I may see what kind of beings humanity sends as its representatives." The humans did as they were told. Found himself near the end of the line between Commander and a young scientist named. He kept his eyes forward and his posture straight. His heart was beating fast, but he did not let it show on his face. The Empress rose from her throne and walked down the line slowly. She stopped in front of each human, studying them with all 4 eyes. Some of the delegates sweated under her gaze. Others could not meet her eyes. She seemed amused by their discomfort. "Mother, this is boring." The voice came from the side of the room, turned his head slightly and saw another approaching. She was younger than the Empress, though still clearly ancient by human standards. Her silver skin was pure and bright, without the gold patterns of her mother. She moved with the lazy grace of someone who had never been told no in her entire life. The Empress said, "I did not summon you." "I was curious," the princess said with a shrug. "Everyone is talking about the new species. I wanted to see for myself." She walked past her mother and began to examine the humans with obvious boredom. "They are so small, so soft. How do they survive?" Kept his face calm, but inside he felt a small spark of irritation. He was used to aliens looking down on humans, but something about this princess made him want to respond. Moved down the line, barely glancing at each human. Then she reached. She stopped. Her 4 eyes focused on him with sudden intensity. She tilted her head to one side, then the other, like a bird examining something interesting. Met her gaze without looking away. He did not smile. He did not bow. He simply looked back at her as an equal. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Princess raised one elegant hand and pointed directly at his chest. She turned to look at her mother with an expression of absolute certainty. "Mother, I want this one." The throne room went silent. Heard someone behind him make a choking sound. Commander's hand moved toward her weapon. The other in the room stared at their princess with shock. Did not understand what those words meant in culture, but from the reaction of everyone around him, he knew it was significant. He did the only thing he could think of. He bowed politely. "Your Highness," he said calmly. Empress raised one eyebrow. The silence stretched on for what felt like hours. Then the Empress smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who found something very, very entertaining. "Interesting," she said softly. "We shall discuss terms." Commander stepped forward, her hand now firmly on her sidearm. "With respect, Your Majesty," she said through clenched teeth, "that is not how this works." The Empress turned her ancient gaze upon the commander. "Is it not? And how does it work, little human?" The silence returned, heavier this time, more dangerous. Realized that the next few moments would decide everything, not just for him, but for all of humanity. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Perhaps," he said, keeping his voice steady, "we could first understand what exactly the princess means by her request. In my culture, clear communication prevents many problems." All eyes turned to him. The princess looked at him with new curiosity. The Empress studied him like he was a puzzle she wanted to solve. "Bold," the Empress said finally, "very bold. I begin to see why my daughter finds you interesting." She returned to her throne and sat down. "Very well, human. Let us talk about what this means, and then we shall see what you are truly made of." Nodded calmly, but his mind was racing. He had no idea what he had just gotten himself into, but he knew one thing for certain. His life would never be the same again. The meeting room was chaos. Ambassador paced back and forth like a caged animal. Commander stood with her arms crossed, her face dark with anger. The other delegates whispered to each other in worried voices. Sat in the corner, watching it all with a strange sense of calm. He should have been panicking. Instead, he felt curious. What exactly had the princess meant? What did "I want this one" mean in her culture? "This is a disaster," Ambassador said for the 10th time. "We came here for peace and trade. Now one of our people has been claimed like property. This is unacceptable." "Then let me shoot our way out," said. "I have enough firepower to reach the ship." "And start a war with the most powerful species in this sector." The ambassador shook his head. "No, we need to handle this carefully." The door opened. An official entered, his silver face showing no emotion. "The Empress will see your delegation now. She wishes to explain the situation." They followed the official back to a smaller room near the throne hall. The Empress was already there, seated on a simple chair. Princess stood by the window, looking out at the city below. "Please sit," the Empress said. Her voice was gentle, almost kind. "I understand there has been some confusion. Allow me to explain." Ambassador sat down slowly. "We would appreciate that, Your Majesty." The Empress nodded. When a royal claims someone, it can mean many things. It might mean taking them as a servant. It might mean adopting them into the royal household. In rare cases, it can be a declaration of intent for marriage. She paused. "In this case, my daughter simply finds your translator fascinating. She wishes him to serve as her personal cultural." "Personal cultural," repeated suspiciously. "What does that mean?" "It means she wants to learn about humanity through him," the Empress said. "She wants him to live in the palace, teach her about Earth, and help her understand your species. Nothing more." Finally turned from the window. "Your people interest me," she said, looking directly at. "You are weak and short-lived. Yet you do not act like prey. When I looked at you, you did not look away. You did not shake with fear. Why?" Considered the question carefully. "Because I was not afraid, Your Highness." "Why not?" "Because fear would not help me. If you meant to harm me, being afraid would not stop you. If you meant to test me, being afraid would make me fail. So I chose not to be afraid." Four eyes widened slightly. She turned to her mother. "You see, this is why I want him. No other species thinks like this." The Empress looked at with new interest. "Indeed, he is unusual." Ambassador cleared his throat. "With respect, Your Majesty, we cannot simply give you one of our people. Is a valuable member of our delegation. He is not property to be traded." "Of course not," the Empress said smoothly. "I am not asking you to give him. I am asking if he would be willing to volunteer. The choice would be his." Everyone turned to look at. He felt the weight of their eyes upon him, was shaking her head slowly. The ambassador looked worried. The other delegates seemed relieved that it was not them being asked. Thought carefully. If he accepted, he would be alone in an alien palace, surrounded by beings who could crush him with one hand. He would be far from home, far from everyone he knew. But he would also be closer to the center of power than any human had ever been. He would learn their secrets, their culture, their weaknesses. He could help humanity in ways that no diplomat could. And there was something else, something he did not want to admit even to himself. He was curious about the princess. Behind her haughty manner, he had seen something in her eyes, loneliness perhaps, a desire for something she could not name. "I volunteer," said. "What?" exploded. "You cannot be serious." "I am very serious," he said calmly. "This is an opportunity. I can learn more about culture than we ever could through normal diplomacy. I can be useful." "You could be killed," said. "I could be killed crossing the street on Earth. At least this way, my death might mean something." Ambassador studied for a long moment. Then he sighed. "If this is truly your choice, I will not stop you, but you must report to us regularly. If anything seems wrong, we will extract you immediately." "Understood," said. The Empress smiled. "Then it is settled. Will remain in the palace as my daughter's cultural. The diplomatic meetings will continue as planned. Everyone is satisfied." Walked over to stand in front of. She was much taller than him, and she looked down at him with curiosity. "You are either very brave or very stupid," she said. "I have not decided which." "Perhaps both," replied. "Humans are complicated." For a moment something flickered in the princess's eyes. It might have been amusement. Then she turned and walked toward the door. "Come, human, I will show you where you will live." Stood up to follow her, grabbed his arm. "Be careful," she whispered. "These people are not our friends, not yet, maybe not ever." "I know," said, "but someone has to build the bridge. It might as well be me." He pulled away gently and followed the princess out of the room. The palace was even larger than had realized. They walked for almost 20 minutes through hallways and gardens and floating bridges, did not speak and did not try to force conversation. He used the time to observe everything around him, the art on the walls, the servants who bowed as they passed, the strange plants that moved on their own. Finally, they reached a door made of dark metal, touched it, and it slid open silently. "These are your rooms," she said. "They were designed for visiting nobles, so they should be comfortable enough for a human." Stepped inside. The room was huge. The ceiling was made of glass, showing the stars above. The furniture was elegant and strange. A bed that seemed to float. Chairs that adjusted to his body when he sat down. A window that showed different views depending on his mood. "It is beautiful," he said honestly. Seemed surprised by his sincerity. "Most people tell me what they think I want to hear. You do not do this. Would you prefer I lie to you?" "No," she said slowly. "I think I would not." She moved toward the door, then stopped. "Tomorrow you will begin teaching me about your world. I have many questions." "I look forward to it, Your Highness." She paused again, as if wanting to say something more. Then she left without another word. Sat down on the floating bed and let out a long breath. He pulled out his communication device and called Earth. After a few moments, a familiar face appeared on the screen. Shouted with his usual energy. "I heard what happened. The whole planet is talking about it. You got claimed by an alien princess." "It is not what you think," said. "It sounds exactly like what I think. You lucky bastard. She is probably beautiful, right? In a weird four-eyed alien way." Despite everything, laughed. Always made him laugh even in the strangest situations. "She is interesting." "Interesting? Ha! That is what men say when they are already falling in love but do not want to admit it. I just met her." "So, love at first sight is a real thing. My grandmother always said so." Shook his head. "I am here to do a job to help humanity, that is all." Sure, said, not believing a word. "Just remember to invite me to the wedding." Ended the call with a small smile. Was wrong, of course. This was not a romance. This was politics, survival, and duty. But as he lay back on the floating bed and looked up at the alien stars, could not help but wonder. What would tomorrow bring? The first week was harder than expected. Princess tested him constantly. She woke him at strange hours. She gave him impossible tasks. She asked questions designed to confuse and frustrate him. "Bring me the blue flower from the Eastern Garden," she commanded one morning. Went to the Eastern Garden. There were no blue flowers, only red and gold ones. When he returned empty-handed, she smiled. "There are no blue flowers in the Eastern Garden." "I know," he said calmly, "but I looked anyway. Perhaps I would find something blue that you had forgotten about." Her smile faded slightly. She had expected him to complain, to give up, to get angry. Instead, he simply tried his best. "You are strange," she said. "I am human," he replied. "We do not give up easily." The tests continued. She made him carry heavy books across the palace, knowing his human body was weaker than a child. She asked him to learn a poem in one night, knowing the language was nearly impossible for humans. She made him stand in the rain for an hour because she wanted to see how long he would last. Did everything she asked. He carried the book slowly, taking many trips. He learned the poem badly, but he learned it. He stood in the rain until she finally called him inside. "Why do you not refuse?" she asked him after the rain test. "Any other being would have told me to stop." Was shivering, but he answered honestly, "Because I understand what you are doing. You are trying to find my breaking point. You want to know what makes me give up." He looked at her with steady eyes. "I do not have a breaking point, Your Highness, not for things like this." "Everyone has a breaking point." "Yes, but mine is not reached through discomfort or difficult tasks. If you want to break me, you will have to try something else." Stared at him for a long moment. Then she handed him a warm robe. "You will get sick if you stay wet. Humans are fragile." "Fragile," agreed, wrapping the robe around himself, "but not weak." "Is there a difference?" "A big one." She considered this. "Explain." "A glass vase is fragile. It breaks easily, but that does not mean it is useless. It holds flowers, it brings beauty. Its fragility does not make it weak, it just means it must be careful." He paused. "Humans are the same, our bodies are fragile. We live short lives, but we use that fragility as fuel. Because we know we can die at any moment, we fight harder to live. We take risks that other species think are insane. We achieve things that should be impossible." Was quiet for a while. "I never thought about it that way." Most species do not. They see our fragility and assume we are prey. They do not understand that prey can become the most dangerous hunter if it refuses to accept its role. Days passed. The tests became fewer. Slowly, curiosity shifted from testing him to truly understanding him. She asked him about Earth, about human history, about the things his people believed. Told her about wars and peace, about art and science, about love and loss. He told her about the first time humans looked up at the stars and dreamed of touching them. He told her about the millions who died trying to reach space, and the millions more who kept trying anyway. "Your species is insane," said after one of these conversations. "Yes," agreed, "that is our greatest strength." One evening, a grand banquet was held in the palace. All the important nobles of the empire attended, was required to come as. He wore formal human clothes that the palace tailors had made for him. The nobles looked at him with barely hidden disgust. To them he was a pet, a curiosity, a toy that the princess had found and would soon throw away. Ignored their looks and focused on his food. It was strange but delicious. They knew how to cook. So this is the human everyone is talking about. Looked up, a tall noble stood before him. His silver skin had patterns of black running through it, making him look like a night sky without stars. His 4 eyes were cold and cruel. "I am Grand Duke," the noble said. "I have heard much about you." "I hope some of it was good," replied politely. Laughed, but there was no warmth in it. "Good. What could be good about your species? You are weak. You are short-lived. In 1,000 years, your entire civilization will be dust and we will still be here." The room went quiet. Everyone was watching, could feel eyes on him from across the room. He took a slow sip of his drink before answering. "Perhaps you are right," he said calmly. "Perhaps in 1,000 years humanity will be forgotten. But tell me, Grand Duke, what have you done with your 1,000 years?" His eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" "I mean that you have lived longer than my entire species has existed. You have seen empires rise and fall. You have watched stars die." Set down his glass. "And yet, when humans look at the empire, we see a people who have not truly changed in 10,000 years. The same culture, the same technology, the same ideas." The room was completely silent now. "In just 300 years," continued, "humans went from riding horses to flying between stars. In 300 years, we invented computers, medicine, space travel, and artificial intelligence. We made more progress in 3 centuries than you have made in 300 centuries." He looked directly into his cold eyes. "So yes, Grand Duke, perhaps we will be dust in 1,000 years, but we will make those 1,000 years count. We will create, explore, discover, and grow. Can you say the same about your eternity?" His face twisted with rage. For a moment, thought the noble might attack him, were strong enough to kill a human with one blow. Then someone started clapping. It was the Empress. She had been watching from her throne at the head of the room. Her 4 eyes sparkled with amusement. "Well spoken, human," she said. "Very well spoken indeed." The tension in the room broke. Some nobles laughed nervously. Others looked at with new expressions. Not respect exactly, but something close to it. Leaned close to his ear. "You have made an enemy today," he whispered. "Remember that." Then he turned and walked away. Appeared at side. "That was either very brave or very stupid," she said. "You said that before. I told you I was probably both." "He will try to hurt you now." "I know. Are you not afraid?" Looked across the room at retreating back. "Fear is useful sometimes. It keeps you alert, But right now, being afraid will not help me, so I choose not to be. Studied him with all four of her eyes. You really are different from other beings. I am just human, said simply. This is how we are. Later that night, received a message from Commander. Be careful, it said. Has powerful allies. You painted a target on yourself tonight. Knew she was right. He had made a dangerous enemy, but he did not regret his words. Sometimes the only way to earn respect was to stand up and be counted. He looked out his window at the alien stars. Somewhere out there, Earth was spinning on, unaware of the small drama playing out in this distant palace. He thought about words. You really are different. No, he thought, I am not different. I am exactly what humans have always been. Fragile, but never weak. Weeks turned into months. The seasons changed on, though the changes were subtle. The purple sky became a deeper shade. The glowing plants in the gardens shifted from gold to silver. The three moons seemed to dance closer to each other every night. And something else was changing too, something between and. It started small. She began asking questions not to test him, but because she truly wanted to know the answers. She laughed at his jokes, even when she did not fully understand them. She remembered small details he mentioned and brought them up later. You said your favorite food was something called, she asked one afternoon. Looked up from the book he was reading. You remembered that. I remember everything you tell me. She said it simply, as if it was obvious. What does it taste like? Smiled, spicy, sweet, chewy. It is hard to describe, you need to taste it yourself. I would like to, someday. He created a holographic simulation of Earth food for her. It was not the same as the real thing, but it gave her an idea. She watched with fascination as he showed her images of street markets in Seoul, of steaming pots of food, of people laughing and eating together on plastic chairs. Your people seem happy, she said quietly. We try to be. Life is short. We do not want to waste it being sad. Was quiet for a moment. Live for thousands of years. Sometimes I wonder if that makes us less happy. We have so much time that we forget to enjoy it. It was the most honest thing she had ever said to him. Felt something shift in his chest. Behind her royal mask, she was lonely. She had lived for centuries, surrounded by servants and nobles who saw her as a princess first and a person second. May I show you something? He asked. What? He pulled up a video on his device. It was a human movie, one of his favorites. A simple story about a girl who fell in love and lost everything but kept going anyway. They watched it together. Did not understand some parts. Why did the girl cry so much? Why did she keep trying when everything was against her? Why did she forgive the person who hurt her? Explained each part patiently. Love, loss, hope, forgiveness. These were human concepts that understood differently. By the end was silent. Her 4 eyes were wet. Are you crying? Asked gently. Do not cry, she said quickly. Of course not. She wiped her eyes anyway. The next day she took him to a place no one outside the royal family had ever seen. The sacred gardens of. They were hidden deep within the palace, behind doors that only opened for royal blood. I could be punished for bringing you here, she admitted as they walked through gates of light, but I want you to see it. The garden was the most beautiful place had ever seen. Trees made of crystal grew toward the sky. Rivers flowed upward instead of down. Flowers sang soft melodies when the wind touched them. Birds with wings of fire flew between the branches. This is where my ancestors are buried, said. Every emperor and empress for 10,000 years. Their bodies returned to the earth and their spirits joined the garden. Walked slowly, careful not to disturb anything. Why did you bring me here? Did not answer immediately. She stood beside a tree that seemed older than all the others. Its crystal branches spread wide like arms waiting for an embrace. My father is buried here, she finally said. He died when I was young for anyway. He was the only one who ever saw me as just, not the princess, not the heir, just me. I am sorry. Do not be, it was long ago. She turned to look at him. Since he died, everyone looks at me and sees what they want from me. Power, influence, connection to the throne. You are the first person in centuries who looks at me and sees me. Did not know what to say, so he said nothing. He simply stood beside her and looked at her father's tree. After a while she smiled. Thank you for listening. Thank you for showing me this place. They walked back to the palace in comfortable silence. Something had changed between them. They both felt it but did not name it. That night, called to give his regular report. You are getting too close to her, said immediately. I am doing my job. Your job is to gather information, not to become friends with the alien princess. Sometimes friendship is the best way to gather information. Sighed, I know that look in your eyes, I have seen it before. You care about her, really care. That is dangerous. Why? Because she is not human, she is not one of us. No matter how much you bond with her, she will live for thousands of years after you are dead. You are a moment to her, a brief flicker of light. Can you accept that? Thought about it. Can she accept it? He asked finally. She knows I will die long before her, yet she still wants to know me. Maybe that is what makes it meaningful, because it is temporary. Was quiet for a long moment. Just be careful, she said finally. There are people who do not want this alliance to succeed, has been meeting with other nobles, planning something. I know, I have seen the looks, but I cannot stop doing my job because of fear. It is not fear, it is caution. Sometimes caution is just fear in a nicer dress. Laughed despite herself. You always have an answer for everything. Fine, keep doing what you are doing, but watch your back. Always. He ended the call and lay back on his bed. Through the glass ceiling, he could see the 3 moons of glowing softly. A knock came at his door. He opened it to find standing there. She was not wearing her royal robes. Instead, she wore simple clothes that made her look almost normal, almost human. I could not sleep, she said. Will you walk with me? Of course. They walked through the sleeping palace, past guards who bowed but said nothing, past servants who pretended not to see. They ended up on a balcony overlooking the city. I have never had a friend before, said suddenly. Is that what we are, friends? Considered the question. I do not know, I think we are something. I am not sure there is a word for it. There is a word, it means. A bond that cannot be broken even by time or distance, a connection between souls. That is a beautiful word. It is usually only used for family or for people who will be married. She paused, but I think it fits us too. Looked at her. In the moonlight she seemed less alien, more like a girl who was tired of being alone. He said, trying the word carefully. She smiled. Your pronunciation is terrible. I am working on it. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the city lights below. Neither of them noticed the shadow watching from the darkness. A figure with black patterns on his silver skin. A figure with cold eyes full of hatred. Grand Duke watched them for a long time. Then he turned and walked away, a plan forming in his cruel mind. The princess had grown attached to the human. That attachment was a weakness. And knew exactly how to exploit it. The attack came without warning. Was walking through the palace gardens when the explosion threw him off his feet. He hit the ground hard, his ears ringing, his vision blurred. Pain shot through his left arm. When he looked down, he saw blood soaking through his sleeve. Guards rushed toward him from all directions. Someone was screaming orders. Someone else was calling for medical help. But all could focus on was the burning pain and the strange feeling of his own blood leaving his body. He passed out before he could see the horror on his face as she ran toward him. When he woke up, he was in a medical chamber. The walls were white and pulsed with soft light. Strange machines hummed around him, and his arm was wrapped in some kind of healing material. "You are awake." Sat beside his bed. She looked terrible. Her silver skin was pale and dark circles hung under all four of her eyes. It seemed like she had not slept in days. "How long was I out?" asked. His voice was rough. 3 days. The healer said you should have died. The bomb was meant to kill instantly." She paused. "You are either very lucky or very stubborn. I told you, humans do not give up easily." She did not smile at the joke. Instead, she reached out and took his uninjured hand. Her fingers were cool and smooth, but her grip was tight. "I thought I lost you," she said quietly. "When I saw you lying there covered in blood, not moving, I thought. I am still here. I know, but for a moment I felt what it would be like if you were gone, and I never want to feel that again." Squeezed her hand gently. They sat in silence for a while. "Who did this?" he finally asked. His expression hardened. "We do not know yet, but I have my suspicions." "Yes, but we cannot prove it. The bomb was constructed using old technology. There is no evidence linking it to anyone specific." "But you know it was him." "Knowing and proving are different things." She stood up and began packing. "He has been careful, too careful. He has allies everywhere in the court. Even some of the guards might be loyal to him." "Then we need to find evidence." "You need to rest." "I can rest and investigate at the same time." Stopped packing and looked at him with frustration. "You almost died. Your body is still healing. And you want to start investigating the most powerful noble in the empire." "Yes." "Why?" Sat up slowly, ignoring the pain in his arm. "Because if we do nothing, he will try again, and next time he might succeed, or worse, he might target you." "Me, I am a princess. He would not dare." "He would if he thought he could get away with it. Right now, you are the only thing standing between him and his goals. If you die, who would stop him?" Opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. She knew he was right. "I hate that you make sense," she muttered. "It is one of my best qualities." Over the next few weeks, worked with Commander to investigate the attack, had contacts among the palace staff, people who were willing to talk for the right price. Slowly, a picture began to form. Was not just planning to hurt. He was planning something much bigger, a conspiracy to destroy the alliance between humanity and before it could truly begin. He has been meeting with representatives from other alien species, reported during one of their secret meetings. Species who see humanity as a threat. They do not want us to have allies. What is he offering them? We do not know yet, but it is big, big enough that they are willing to work with a noble, which is rare. Thought about it. He is going to attack the human delegation. Nodded grimly. That is my guess too. Kill all the human diplomats and blame it on a rival species. Start a war. The alliance falls apart and humanity is left alone and weak. We need to stop him. We need proof first. Without evidence, no one will believe us. The Empress likes you, but she will not move against a Grand Duke based on our suspicions alone. Spent his nights going through data looking for patterns. His days were spent with who had become fiercely protective of him. She rarely let him out of her sight. Guards followed him everywhere. "You do not need to watch me every moment," he told her one evening. "Yes, I do." "Why?" She looked at him with all four eyes. "Because you are important. To the alliance. To me." The words hung in the air between them, felt his heart beat faster. He began. "Do not say anything," she interrupted. "I know what you are thinking. You are thinking about how short your life is compared to mine. You are thinking about how different we are. You are thinking about all the reasons why this cannot work." "I was not thinking any of that." "Then what were you thinking?" He looked at her for a long moment. "I was thinking that you have a leaf in your hair." She blinked in surprise, then reached up to feel her head. Indeed, there was a small golden leaf caught in her silver hair. She must have picked it up in the garden. "Oh," she said, suddenly embarrassed, "I did not notice." Laugh softly. Sometimes you are not very princess-like. "Is that bad?" "No, it is wonderful." She smiled, really smiled, and for a moment all the darkness and danger faded away. But reality returned quickly. Later that night, sent an urgent message. "We found something. Is planning to attack the delegation during the signing ceremony next week. The whole event is a trap." The signing ceremony was supposed to be the final step in creating the alliance. Both sides would sign treaties that would bind their species together for generations. Every human diplomat would be there. Every important noble too. It was the perfect target. "We need to tell the Empress," said when he met with. "With what proof? We have rumors and guesses, nothing solid." "Then we need to get solid proof." "How?" Was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that makes blood run cold. "Wants me dead. He failed once. He will want to try again." Looked at her with steady eyes. "I am going to let him capture me." "That is insane." "Maybe, but if I can get close to him, I can find the evidence we need. He is arrogant. He thinks humans are stupid and weak. He will talk eventually, and when he does, I will record everything. And if he kills you before you get anything useful, then at least you will know I was right, and you can warn the Empress." Grabbed his shoulder hard. "This is not a joke, this is your life." "I know." He gently removed her hand. "But it is not just my life. It is the lives of everyone in that delegation. It is the future of humanity. If the alliance fails, if we are left alone in the galaxy, we may not survive." Stared at him for a long time. Finally, she sighed. "You really are the bravest idiot I have ever met." "Thank you, I think. I will be ready to extract you. At the first sign of trouble, I am coming in with everything I have." I would not expect anything less. Did not tell about his plan. He knew she would try to stop him, and he knew that if she tried, he might not be able to refuse her. Some things had to be done alone. Some things were worth dying for. He just hoped it would not come to that. The plan was simple. Too simple, maybe. But simple plans were often the best because they had fewer things that could go wrong. Made sure to be alone in a remote part of the palace. He had sent away with a fake message about a meeting. He had told the guards he needed privacy. And then he waited. He did not have to wait long. 3 appeared from the shadows. They wore no markings, no uniforms, just dark clothes and cold expressions. One of them asked. "That depends on who is asking." "Grand Duke wishes to speak with you." "And if I do not want to speak with him?" The smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. That was not a question. They took him through secret passages he had never seen before. The palace was larger than he had realized, with hidden rooms and corridors that existed outside the official maps. Finally, they reached a door that looked like solid stone but slid open at a touch. The room beyond was dark and cold. Sat in the center on a chair that looked almost like a throne. His black-patterned skin seemed to absorb what little light there was. "The famous human," said as was pushed into the room. "The pet that thinks itself an equal." Said nothing. He let himself appear scared, weak. It was not hard. Part of him really was scared. "You have caused me much trouble," continued. "Your little speech at the banquet made some nobles question their views on humanity. Your friendship with the princess has complicated my plans. I should have killed you properly the first time. The bomb was yours then. Obviously, but do not worry. I will not make the same mistake twice. This time there will be nothing left to bury." Allowed himself to shake slightly. "What do you want from me?" Laughed. I want nothing from you. You are worthless. Your entire species is worthless. Short-lived insects pretending to matter." He leaned forward. "But you are useful in one way. The princess cares about you. When I kill you in front of her, she will break. and broken princesses make poor rulers. You cannot kill her, she is royal blood. I do not need to kill her, I just need to destroy her spirit. Once she is weak, I can control her. Through her, I can control the empire. And then I will show the galaxy what humanity truly deserves. Which is extinction. His 4 eyes gleamed with hatred. Your species is an infection. You spread across stars like disease. You grow too fast, learn too quickly. In a few more centuries, you might actually become a threat. I will not allow that. Felt the small recording device hidden in his clothes. It was capturing everything. He just needed a little more. The attack on the delegation, he said carefully. You are going to blame it on someone else. Smiled proudly. A violent species from the outer rim. Everyone knows they hate humanity. When the delegation dies and weapons are found at the scene, war will begin. Humanity will be too busy fighting the notice that has quietly closed its doors. You will start a war to prevent an alliance. I will start a war to save my species from contamination. Humans are like poison. Once they mix with us, we become weak. The princess is proof of that. She used to be strong, proud, pure. Now she cries over human movies and holds hands with a creature who will be dead in 50 years. Forced himself to stay calm. She has not become weak, she has become kind. Kindness is weakness. The galaxy does not reward kindness, it rewards power. Stood up. But enough talk, you have served your purpose. You have shown me that your species is even more pathetic than I thought. Now it is time to die. He gestured, and one of the guards pulled out a weapon. Closed his eyes, he had gotten what he needed. The recording would prove everything. Now he just needed to come. Wait. The voice came from the door. It was not. It was. She stood in the doorway with Imperial guards behind her. Her face was calm, but her 4 eyes burned with cold fury. Princess, said, his smile fading, how did you find this place? You think I do not know every secret in my own palace? Stepped forward. I have been watching you for weeks. I knew you would make a move eventually. I just needed you to confess your plans in your own words. She held up a device. This human taught me something useful. He taught me about technology, including how to link recording devices to remote receivers. She smiled coldly. My mother has heard everything you just said. Silver face went pale. The Empress is very disappointed in you. The Empress herself appeared behind. Her ancient eyes were hard as stone. Grand Duke, you are charged with treason against the Empire, conspiracy to commit murder, and plotting to start an illegal war. Do you have anything to say? His calm finally broke. He reached for a weapon, but the guards were faster. They grabbed him and forced him to the ground. This is not over, he screamed. Humanity will destroy us. They are a plague, you will see. The Empress watched him with no emotion. Take him away. He will stand trial before the full court. As was dragged out, still screaming, rushed to side. Are you hurt? No, just scared. He managed a weak smile. I was waiting for Commander, but you worked too. Contacted me when she realized you were missing. She knew I would come faster. Grabbed his arm tightly. Never do something this stupid again. I cannot promise that. Then promise you will at least tell me next time. He looked at her. Despite everything, he laughed. I promise. The Empress approached them. She studied with her ancient eyes for a long moment. You allowed yourself to be captured, she said. You let him think he had won, and all the while you were gathering evidence. Yes, Your Majesty. You could have died. I know. Why did you take such a risk? Thought about it. Because it was the right thing to do. The alliance matters, not just for humanity but for both our species. Was going to destroy that for his own pride. Someone had to stop him. And that someone had to be you. Who else would he underestimate enough to talk in front of? To him, I was just a weak little human, not a threat at all. Shrugged. I used his prejudice against him. The Empress was silent for a long moment. Then slowly she smiled. It was a real smile this time, warm, almost proud. "You are clever, clever and brave, a dangerous combination." She turned to her daughter. "I understand now why you chose him." Blushed slightly, which was strange to see on a silver face. "Mother." "We will discuss that later." The Empress looked back at. "For now, you have my gratitude. You have saved not only your delegation but possibly the future of both our peoples." "I just did what any human would do." "No," the Empress shook her head. "You did what a hero would do. Do not diminish that." She left with her guards, leaving and alone. Still had not let go of his arm. "I was so scared," she admitted quietly. "When I realized where you were, what you were doing, I thought I would be too late." "But you were not." "But I could have been." She looked at him with all four eyes. "Do you understand how that feels? To know that someone you care about might be dying and you might not be able to save them?" Reached up and touched her face gently. "I understand. That is exactly how I would feel if something happened to you." They stood there for a moment, close together, neither moving. "What happens now?" asked. "Now," smiled. "Now we make sure the alliance survives, then we sign the treaties, then I do not know." "I do not know either." She took his hand. "But I think I would like to figure it out together." Outside the hidden room, the stars turned slowly in the sky. The future was uncertain, full of challenges and dangers. But for now, in this moment, two beings from different worlds stood together. And that was enough. The signing ceremony took place 1 week later. This time there were no hidden threats, no conspiracies waiting in the shadows. Grand Duke was locked away, awaiting trial. His allies had abandoned him, afraid of being caught in his fall. The palace felt lighter somehow, as if a dark cloud had finally lifted. Stood in the grand hall with the other human delegates. Commander was beside him, wearing her formal uniform instead of combat gear for once. Ambassador looked 10 years younger, the worry finally gone from his face. "We did it," said quietly. "Against all odds, we actually did it." "We had help," replied, glancing toward the royal platform where sat beside her mother. The princess caught his eye and smiled slightly. Just a small movement of her lips, but it was meant only for him. The Empress rose and addressed the assembled crowd. Her voice filled the hall without effort, ancient and powerful. "Today marks a new chapter in the history of our galaxy. For 10,000 years, the Empire has watched other species rise and fall. We have remained apart, unchanged, eternal. But eternity without growth is not life. It is merely existence." She paused, looking at the human delegation. "These beings have shown us something we had forgotten: the power of change, the strength of fragility, the courage to grow even when time is short." She turned to look directly at. "One human in particular has taught us that heroes do not need to be immortal. They simply need to be brave." Felt his face grow warm, elbowed him with a smirk. "Therefore," the Empress continued, "let it be known that from this day forward humanity and are bound in friendship and alliance. Our futures are joined. Our fates are shared. Let no force in the galaxy tear us apart." The treaties were signed. Hands were shaken, toasts were made. The hall erupted in celebration. Hours later, when the crowds had thinned and the noise had faded, found himself on the balcony where he and had first talked as friends. The 3 moons hung in the sky like lanterns. "You are quiet," said, appearing beside him. "I am thinking." "About what?" He did not answer immediately. How could he explain the storm of emotions inside him? Joy at their success, sadness that his mission was ending, fear of what came next, and beneath it all, a feeling he was afraid to name. "The Empress spoke to me before the ceremony," he finally said. "She offered me anything I wanted: wealth, power, a position in the court. She said I could become the most important human in the galaxy if I stayed." His expression did not change, but her voice was careful. "And what did you say?" "I said I needed time to think." "I see." The silence between them was heavy with unspoken words. "What do you want?" asked softly. "Not what is best for humanity, not what is strategic or smart. What do you actually want?" He turned to look at her. In the moonlight she was beautiful, not in the human way but in her own way, alien and strange and wonderful. "I want to go home," he said honestly. "I miss Earth. I miss the food, the noise, the chaos. I miss walking on streets where no one knows who I am. I miss being ordinary." His eyes dimmed slightly, though she tried to hide it. "I understand." But continued, "I also want something else." "What?" He reached out and took her hand. "I want to build something, a real bridge between our peoples. Not just treaties and trade agreements, but true understanding. I want humans and to live together, learn from each other, grow together." "That would take years." "Yes, probably a lifetime, maybe longer." "Your lifetime is short." "Which is why I cannot waste any of it." He squeezed her hand. "I will return to Earth, but not forever. I want to create an exchange program. Humans living on Earth. People learning from each other the way we learned from each other." Considered this. "That is a grand dream." "I am good at dreaming. It is a human specialty." She laughed softly, then her expression grew serious. "And what about us?" "Us? You know what I mean." She turned to face him fully. "We have become something, you and I, Ev, a bond that cannot be broken, but you will return to Earth and I must stay here. What happens to us?" Took a deep breath. "I have thought about that a lot, and I have a request." "What request?" "You claimed me once in front of everyone. Now I want to claim something in return." His four eyes narrowed with curiosity. "What?" "A promise." He looked into her eyes, all four of them. "Promise me that you will visit Earth, not as a princess on a diplomatic mission, as yourself, as come and see my world, eat real street food instead of holograms, walk on beaches and climb mountains and watch the sunrise over Seoul." She was quiet for a long moment. "That is all you want?" she asked. "Not power, not position, just a visit?" "It is not just a visit. It is a chance for us to have something real, something that does not belong to empires or politics." He smiled. "And honestly, I really want to see you try for real." Stared at him. Then slowly she began to laugh. It was not the polite laugh of a princess. It was real and loud and undignified, filling the night air. "You are the strangest being I have ever met," she said through her laughter. "Is that a yes?" "Yes," she wiped her eyes with her free hand. "Yes, I promise, I will visit your world." "Good," grinned, "I will hold you to that." 6 months later, Earth, Seoul. The night was warm and alive with energy. Street markets stretched through the narrow lanes, vendors calling out, music playing from somewhere, the smell of cooking food filling the air. Princess walked beside, trying very hard not to stare at everything. She wore human clothes and sunglasses to hide her extra eyes. To anyone passing by, she might have looked like an unusual tourist. Very tall, very pale, but nothing too strange. "There are so many people," she murmured, "so much noise." "Welcome to Earth," said with a grin. "This is not even the busy part." He led her to a food stall and ordered 2 portions of. The vendor looked at curiously but said nothing. Strange tourists were common in Seoul. Handed her a wooden skewer with the soft rice cakes covered in red sauce. "Careful, it is spicy." Looked at it suspiciously, then she took a bite. Her eyes widened, all 4 of them behind the sunglasses. "This is," she chewed slowly, "this is very strange." "Good strange or bad strange?" She took another bite, then another. "Good strange, very good strange. How do your people make such things?" "Centuries of practice." He ate his own food happily. "There is a lot more to try. Fried chicken, kimchi, ice cream. We have an entire world of food. I want to try everything." "We have time." They walked through the market together, stopping at stall after stall. tried everything offered her. Some things she loved, some things she hated, but she tried them all. As the night grew later, they found a quiet spot on a rooftop overlooking the city. The lights of Seoul stretched out below them like a galaxy made of gold and white. "Your world is beautiful," said softly. "So is yours. They are different kinds of beauty. That is what makes them both special." She leaned against him slightly. It was a small gesture, but it meant everything. Above them, a ship passed silently through the sky, its lights blinking in greeting. Below, human vehicles rushed through the streets. Two species, once strangers, now walking forward together. "What happens now?" asked. Smiled. It was the same question she had asked months ago, and he had the same answer. "I do not know," he said, "but I think we will figure it out together." She took his hand. The city sparkled around them. And somewhere in the distance, the future waited, bright and unknown and full of possibility. They were ready.